Hey, good morning. It's Ken Walls. Welcome to Breakthrough Walls. I have an unbelievably good friend of mine on today. This guy is an entrepreneur of entrepreneurs. Like if you own a business, if you're in sales, if you have the desire to succeed, you may want to watch this dude because he knows it. I'm telling you. Without any more from me, I want to welcome my buddy David Miner to the show. David, thank you for being on, brother.
Morning. How's it going today?
Good, man. Glad to have you on, man. You and I've had a lot of extensively long conversations. Normally at 1 o'clock in the morning. Like, hey, what are you doing? Working? What are you doing? Working?
Right.
So hey, I created this show because I think there's a lot of people out there, and you and I have actually had these conversations. There's a lot of people out there that get stuck, and they stay stuck, and they don't know how to get unstuck. And you're a guy that I truly believe can help people. So let's start this out with digging deep, man. Let's go deep. Let's talk about where you were born and raised, man.
I grew up in Minnesota, in the Twin Cities, Minneapolis. Up there in the good old Midwest, back where the TWA planes used to pit stop between New York and California back in the days, and so that's my old stomping grounds, the cornfields of Minnesota, the lakes of Minnesota.
Nice. Where it's nice and warm year round, right?
Yeah, very tropical. Very tropical. The mosquitoes are the size of birds.
Yeah, right. Right, I know. I'm just down the road in Ohio. I know all about it. So, one of the things this is a kind of a theory of mine, and I believe a lot of other people, but what was the thing growing up? Was there any kind of a person or a situation that pushed you and drove you to become what you are today?
Probably, I would say that it's just realistically, like the insecurity growing up. I never had a lot of what I feel was like encouragement and insecurity, probably from the people I thought that were important in my life and who they were important in my life. My parents and things like that. I didn't feel like I had all the push and desire that I wanted from them to like support me in what I wanted to do or be. Which is consequently why I refuse to tell my son anything negative about anything he does. I'm like, there's a story back when my son was like 2 and all he could say was, "What's that?" And he'd point at everything. And actually it was after his first birthday. That was one of the first words he could figure out was how to say, "What's that?"
Right.
And my house had just burned down and we were on vacation and the guy was following me down the trail and my son asked me every time we walked past a lamppost, "What's that?" And the guy was like, "Doesn't that drive you crazy? Like, how can you keep telling him that's a light post?" I was like, "No, because that's my son and he wants to be." If I start telling him at that young of an age that he shouldn't be asking questions, then how is that going to affect him long term? You know what I mean? So I always try to be positive and encourage my son all the time.
Right. So which is incredible. I'm very, very much the same way with my kids. But so you didn't have the parental guidance and support that all of us desire as children, obviously.
I mean, I definitely didn't have the worst childhood. Don't get me wrong. I just feel like, and maybe it was just me, but I just didn't feel like I was the oldest 7 kids, right? So there was a lot of my parents sharing their attention between 7 kids and stuff like that. So it was like, I felt like I was always kind of being pushed to be the one in charge because it was like, my youngest sister is 21 now and I'm 33. So, put it that way, there was like always a new kid right behind me. So it was like I was forced to constantly be growing up and helping the other kids and like helping my parents and stuff like that. So there wasn't like so much of a, I don't know, what I feel like maybe as a childhood. I don't know. That was a good question.
You're 33?
33, yeah.
Dude, you're one of those lazy millennials?
By that much, I'm a millennial.
I'm just kidding, man. Wow. So,
Yeah, man.
I thought you were older than that for some reason.
No, 33. I'll be 34 this September. Here's my birthday.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, okay. So, I know what you've accomplished. So, oh my God, this is going to be good. All right. Wayne Elsey is on here. He's a buddy of mine in Orlando. He just said, he said, Geraldo Walls. Oh my God. Wow. So let's talk about you. So you grew up in Minnesota. You went
Yeah,
to
man.
school there, right? Through high school. And did you go to college?
No, sir. My father and I didn't have the same views on life growing up. The technology world was just coming to fruition. And I've always been one that liked puzzles. Growing up as a kid, I was really intrigued with just trying to tinker with stuff and build stuff. And I remember one time I got in trouble because I smashed my dad's printing calculator because I just wanted to figure out how it worked. And so I wasn't real enthralled about that. But at any rate, I really got into technology as I was growing up because it was something I could always learn every day, and just something I really excelled at because there were so many puzzles and challenges and opportunities. In the tech world. And so I spent an incredible amount of my time in my preteen and teen years of my life just tinkering with computers, and like I taught myself how to do HTML, and just it was something new to be able to play with all the time. And so I ended up getting into fights all the time with my dad because all the time I'd spend on computers, and ended up not doing schoolwork and things like that, and was put out of my house at the age of 16 because of me and my dad fighting all the time. He just kind of decided one day that he was done with my quote-unquote shit, and so left me at my uncle's place one day, and I just started trying to figure it out on my own, I guess. So,
Wow. Holy crap. But this was still in Minnesota?
yeah, I was only about 16 when that happened. I kept myself in school through junior year of high school, and then re-enrolled at another high school back in my old neighborhood, and finished my senior year of school there. So yeah, man, that's kind of where it went.
So were you a troublemaker?
I don't know that I was a troublemaker. I mean, I definitely didn't like to fit in and comply with everything necessarily. Right. That was like, the typical thing to do, but I don't think that I was ever really like a troublemaker. I don't see that I was. I mean, considering all the silly stuff I did, I mean, and what I see people doing and what I know my friends were doing, I think I was a pretty mellow kid, honestly.
That's awesome, dude.
Didn't really do any drugs or anything crazy like that, or any of that stuff.
Did you when did you start like working? When did you have your first job?
My first attempt at a job was when I was still living at home, and I was supposed to go get a job. So I got a job at Subway. That lasted about maybe 3 months before I managed to step on some toes with the management that was in 2 grades above me at my same school. They didn't like me because I just wanted to figure out how to do things better and faster back then. I'm like, why do we got to do this? This is stupid. Let's do it this way because we could shave some time off and do less work, Right. So that was, I think, my only technical real job in high school. And then, dude, I was like cleaning toilets as a janitor for my friend's family. I worked part-time at a million different places. I can't even imagine where I worked. Can't remember.
Wow.
I just want to make money.
Right. So you, wow, man. You just reminded me of a job I got fired from for working too fast. I figured out some shortcuts and they fired me.
Right.
I forgot about that. So you've always looked for a better way. It sounds like. And knowing you as well as I do, I know that you have definitely found a better way to do a lot of things. But before we get to what you're doing now, let's talk a little bit more about where Dan Kelleher says David didn't go to college. That's a shocker. Yet he's one of the smartest dudes I know. So which is true. You are, man. So
Thanks,
so you know. So you had a how do I say this? I don't mean this in an offensive way because I'm the exact same way. Like you had a bit of a chip on your shoulder.
Yeah, man. Kind of did. Everybody talked a lot of shit, and I was like, I mean, dude, I'm telling you, everybody, I meet some new people nowadays, and they figure out who I am now, and they still think that like I had got this from somewhere, and like mom and dad gave me some money to start a company or do something crazy like that. And I'm like, dude, no. Growing up, like I had the front teeth on my face smashed on my mouth, so I had like big teeth, and like growing up, and everybody teased me for having big teeth and like looking awkward and being awkward, like every kid growing up is. You're awkward a lot of the times.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so a lot of people talked a lot of shit to me, and that didn't encourage or make me feel any better than that. And so I don't know. I just knew that I didn't know back then. I just was trying to get along and do what needed to happen to like grow up and make it through being in a childhood situation. And then finally, as I got older, I figured out I'm not the crazy one, because all of a sudden I was the guy who was stacking checks and had money. And, by the age of like 18, 19, 20, 21, when we were hitting the bars, all of a sudden all the people from high school that didn't want to hang out with me want to be my friend now all of a sudden, because I had money and I could do what I wanted to do and make moves. And, so that's kind of what it was.
So after high school, you put the cap and gown up and you got your diploma and I
didn't get any of that stuff.
Oh, you didn't? So
No.
So neither did I. But so you what happened after school? After high school? What was the? I mean, you're ready to take on the world, right?
Yeah, so I put myself back into school for my senior year, made it. Going into senior year, I had left my other school and I was behind credits, so I thought I wasn't going to graduate on time. And I talked the principal into letting me transfer to this other more inner city school district where I'd grown up. Well, magically from suburbia back to the inner city, I was all of a sudden ahead credits, and I was scheduled to graduate technically early by the time halfway through the school. I just liked school, so I started going to school. And anyway, my physics teacher told me that I was in trouble for like needing to go to the bathroom or something like that, and I told her to shove it, and I just never went back to school after Christmas break. and that's kind of stuff I like to get into, is physics and stuff, right? It was interesting to me.
Yeah.
And so I started working. I just went and I was like, you know what, I'm going to figure out how to make some money. And I really didn't even know what the hell I was going to do. I just went and started hanging out with a couple of my friends at their jobs, and eventually I was there so much annoying them that the guys that owned the place were like, dude, if you're going to be here all the time, let me just give you a job and we'll start working. And so I started doing stuff there and framing houses and anything I could do to make the most money. And it didn't matter what the work was, as long as all I cared about was how many dollars were associated with how many hours I was going to put in that day. So,
right.
That's kind of like 18, dude. I was working. 17, I was working.
So you started framing houses?
I started out doing aquarium business, and then I quit the aquarium business, and then I've done so many things I couldn't give you an exact timeline of how I did them, but
yeah,
somehow I remember I did aquarium business, learned my aquarium business from my friend who lived down the street, and then ended up doing something in the restaurant business and framing houses and construction and carpentry. And I just wanted to make money. That's all I knew. I just wanted to make money.
And this was all in Minnesota?
Yeah. Yep.
So fast forward to we don't have a lot of years to work with here.
Yeah.
Sorry. Right. We don't. Like, God, what you've accomplished, and you're 33, it's unbelievable. So at some point, because you don't live in Minnesota anymore, right?
Yeah.
So at some point you decided Minnesota is no longer my cup of tea, right?
Yeah. Right.
And where'd you go? And when did you move? Where
Yeah,
and why?
So the brief synopsis of that whole time gap is, so I ended up becoming I ended up getting the aquarium business full time under my own thing. I did the aquarium business. I drove that company to the top 5% in my little market there.
Wow.
Made it on TV. Thought I had made it because my whole goal all along was to make money, right?
Yeah.
That's all I knew was I wanted to make money. And eventually by 2014, I was basically an idiot, drinking, partying, and doing whatever the hell I wanted to all the time because I had cash flow. I had made it. I had enough income to do what I wanted to do, which was live the MTV lifestyle, as I call it at the time, which was, I thought, partying and drinking and just doing stupid shit all the time. And we did. And then one day I realized that, this necessarily isn't exactly, I don't remember who said it, but somebody said if you died today and you had to look at and you had to have your title on your headstone, would you be satisfied with it? Was the general thing that person had said. And that really hit me. I was like, if I died today, would I really be happy as an overpriced fish janitor is what I defined myself as. I was making piles of money. I was charging $130 an hour. And I was like, 26, 27, having done jobs with Fortune 500 companies and everything. So at that time, I really thought I had made it. But when that guy said that really hit home to me. And I was like, you know what? I'm more than a damn fish janitor. This is like, this is not who I am. And then all of a sudden it started clicking that, I was really drinking and acting how I was, not only because that's what I thought I was supposed to want and that's what the money was supposed to buy me, but it was because I was bored, dude. I wasn't happy or satisfied with what I was doing. I no longer had a challenge to push myself towards. I no longer had a goal to achieve. So I just went into, default system override and started drinking and hanging and partying out like I'd done earlier in my life.
Right.
So I packed all my shit. I literally my family and everybody else in Minnesota thought I was out of my freaking mind because I went and sold everything I owned in 60 days and packed my shit and moved and I traded one of my cargo vans from my aquarium business for a box truck and packed my shit into the box truck, and what didn't fit in the box truck, I don't know where it is anymore.
Nice.
And I moved to Florida. I knew that I had to get away from those people. I had to make a change. And I knew that just being in the same city near those people and having the option to go back to doing that was not going to be something I was going to be able. I knew myself well enough to know that staying around those people and having the option to go back wasn't going to allow me to grow. I was going to go back to doing it. So I just had to get the hell away from them. And, that's no disrespect. I love a lot of my old friends. They're still good friends. It's just a matter of, when you align certain people, you can create certain circumstances for not just yourself, but everybody around you that's not beneficial to anybody.
Right.
But it sure the hell can seem like fun. You know what I mean? I had a shitload of fun. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
But was it productive? No.
Yeah, I get that. So how old approximately were you then?
I moved to Florida in the beginning of 2015.
What?
Yeah.
Just 3 years ago?
Yeah.
Holy crap.
Yeah.
Dude, wow.
15, I want to say.
And so
14 or 15. Can't remember what year. Either 14 or 15. No.
Still. Okay, 4 years ago. Let's tack another year on there just for shits and giggles. So 3 or 4 years ago you moved to Florida and you're in Tampa, right? Tampa area?
Yep.
And Dan said he moved down to meet me. Oh my God. So you moved to Tampa. Did you know anybody in Tampa?
Nope. And I knew I was going to go broke when I got here. I just didn't know how broke I could go, and I didn't realize how valuable my network was of all the people I knew back in Minnesota.
Wow.
Yeah, man. So that was definitely something I did not. It wasn't even like in the plans. You know what I mean? Like everybody talks about moving to another city, and they're like, "I'm going to move to another city, but how am I going to learn about where to go and things that was what I was worried about." And then I got down here and I realized how much my network had to do with me being able to earn money.
Right.
And I got my ass kicked when I moved down here, dude. I got my ass kicked.
Wow.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's huge. I've done that several times, and I that's huge, man. When you know nobody, but you didn't let that stop you. At some point, you made a decision. I mean, so it sounds like you've had I mean, look, I think that most people that have the true entrepreneurial spirit have had millions of jobs, or a lot at least, right?
Yeah.
Trying this, trying that, trying to figure it out.
Absolutely.
And I know that you've been through that. So at some point, though, you decided I want to start my own company, right?
I've been doing it over and over again. Yeah.
Right. And you now have a company. What's that?
I didn't really decide to start this company per se as much as, so I lost my network in Minnesota, right? And I moved to Florida, went broke. And then I was like, okay, shit, I got to figure out, like, I knew I was starting to go broke. So I was like, I just got to get a job, any kind of job to like start putting money in the bucket. Right. So just taking money out of the bucket. I moved down here with a couple $1,000s. So I had some money. It wasn't a big deal. But when you don't have any income coming in and you got it all going out, it starts to become a big deal. So I got a job for a little while doing some electrical work, which sucked. It was a horrible job. I sometimes look back, I'm like, I can't even believe I worked for that cheap. Like, I can't even believe I got out of bed for that little amount of money. I think I was getting paid like $12 an hour to go shovel freaking dirt for an electrical company. And so anyway, that didn't work because I wasn't making enough money to keep up with my expenses. So went back to Minnesota and spent the summer there hanging out with some friends. And
I'll hold it. You went back to Minnesota?
Yeah, just for 3 months.
Oh, okay.
Just try and stack some money real quick. I went back for a little brief period of time, and then I came back and I was really broke because I'd been paying the bills for Minnesota. That didn't work. So I was literally in the process of getting evicted from my apartment down in Florida, so I came back and I'm like, I didn't have a choice. I just had to figure out how to make money. So I got a job right away, hanging siding for a guy, and I was starting to pay the bills that way a little bit, but that still wasn't that good. And so it just gave me enough money to be able to go buy a couple signs here and there. And I was just trying to attend all the meetings and like get involved in real estate more and try and like, I didn't know what the hell I was doing, dude. I had no clue. I just knew that I had to go take action. Like,
right.
There was no book. I was like, either I'm going to figure out how to pay the rent or I'm going to be in deep shit. That's all I knew. It was like, the only thing I do is like, my option is to sit on the couch at home and cry about it, or I need to go get in front of other people that have something going on, and maybe I can figure out how to work with them and associate with those people.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I closed my first transaction, and that was the first time I ever
So let's talk about that real quick. So okay, and I see a synchronistic pattern here. So you started framing houses right out of school. You were you've done electrical work. You hung siding. You've probably thrown in a couple of windows here and there. Maybe even did a tile job or two in a bathroom or kitchen.
Anything for money, didn't matter.
Yeah, right. So you were in. I mean, and people don't get this part, and I think you do, and that is the all the stuff that you're going through at the moment. It may be a crap job you're doing that you hate and whatever, but they're literally stepping stones to get you to the next level, and the next level could be accidental.
Yeah.
Right?
No, I mean, I think so many people I've talked to are like, they get so focused on like, well, I want to do something I'm passionate about and blah, blah, blah. They don't do anything else.
Right.
And that's cool. And I respect that you want to do something you're passionate about, because until recently, I've not done anything that I've been passionate about. Right.
Right.
I was just eating shit every day. That's all I knew. I didn't have another option. My only option was, how do I make money? And so I ended up in the construction trades because they paid me a lot of money. They didn't care that I had a degree or not. They were like, can you show up? Will you do it with consistency? And are you down to just work your ass off? And I was like, I will do all of those things.
Right.
And so that's how I got into the construction trade. But so many people get worried about what they're doing right now that they're not focused on like where you want to go as a destination. But there's things that's exactly like you said. There's stepping stones. Like looking back, that's how it worked. But at the time, I didn't realize that. I just knew I needed to make money. You know what I mean?
Well,
That's it.
and remember, there's a lot of people that are going to see this show that have no idea who you are. There's a lot
Yeah.
of people on here that don't know who you are that are friends of mine, and so you're now like that when you just said you did your first transaction. Your first transaction of what? Selling crack?
No. I had given that up a long time ago.
You said- oh my God, man!
No, wholesaling real estate. I had no idea. I just came to Florida and I had gotten this idea that I really wanted to change. Going back to why I came to Florida was because I just wanted to grow into something else. And I was like, well, I've always enjoyed, working on real estate. And so I originally thought I wanted to flip houses, but so anyway, looking through the internet, I came across this idea of wholesaling, which we all know how many lines of bullshit there are on the internet about every possible thing you could possibly do to get rich quick, right? So
Yeah.
to say I was skeptical was saying the least amount. But then all of a sudden when you get a check and you're like, holy shit, this is actually legit. And I mean, it couldn't have come in at a better second. I had to file bankruptcy to stop myself from getting evicted from my apartment building, right?
Oh, jeez.
And so I did. I filed bankruptcy, and I was literally 2.5 weeks from needing to figure out how the hell and where the hell I was going to move. So I needed that check, I'm talking bad. I needed that check bad. And at the next second, thank God, we closed, a few days beforehand, and I managed to have enough money to put up the $3,000 or $4,000 to move to another place. And that was kind of like, yo, if I did this once, this is amazing. And we got that money in 15 days.
Wow.
From the time that we started hanging signs and we got the call to the day that we closed the next side, that was 15 days. So to make that kind of money that fast, I'm like, dude, I'll hang signs every Friday night. I don't give a shit, because that's better than, digging ditches for some guy for $12 an hour.
And what's hanging signs mean?
Hanging bandit signs, putting those bandit signs up all over town that say "We buy houses cash."
Oh, I see those everywhere. I think you're doing them here in Ohio too. I see them everywhere, man.
Yeah.
So okay. So you're doing you're what's that called? Is that just
It's called bandit signing?
No, is it flipping? Lisa Marie Kennedy is on here. She's a huge realtor in your area.
Yeah.
And she said, I need to know David.
Over here.
She's a good friend of mine. She actually
Nice.
was on this show. She's amazing. So,
Awesome.
yeah, you guys need to connect. But, and that's what I love about doing this show is making connections like that. Not just like that, but connections for
Right.
people to wake up. And you got the freaking story, man. So here you are. You're on the verge. Well, not on the verge of bankruptcy. You literally filed bankruptcy. Did it confirm? Did your bankruptcy confirm?
No. I intentionally just filed it. So it's an evil tactic that we use on the banks, is just to file it because it stops anybody from collecting debt on you for a period of time. And
Right.
I never completed the bankruptcy because I only needed it to protect myself from getting kicked out of my house.
You're like, I didn't want to be
my
homeless.
attorney was like, bro, you're going to kick this guy out over, I think I was $200 short.
Wow.
And my pride, the lady was like, well, can't you borrow from somebody? Don't you have a family member? Can't you go to Amscott? I'm like, hell no, I'll never borrow that shit.
Right.
I'm not doing it. And so their attorney that called me was like, she was as floored as I was that they were down to kick me out over $200.
Yeah.
And so anyway, yeah, man, I mean, I never completed it because I don't have that many debts. I've always lived within my abilities and means. It was just something I needed to do to protect my kids. So family.
So okay, so you really needed this check. You were down to the last minute, and you were probably, whether you're religious or not doesn't matter. You probably said a prayer or two in there.
Absolutely,
right?
Absolutely,
right. So and then you're like, oh, wait a minute. I might be onto something here, right? Yeah. So then, dude, this is only in the last few years. This is unbelievable. So, because you just were walking from one office to the other, and I've seen your offices on camera. I've never been there personally, but Like you
Right.
got a nice place, man. Really
Yeah,
nice
man.
place.
Yeah.
So let's tell everybody where you are now, because you're balling now, man. You're doing well. I mean, you're doing
We're doing all right.
pretty
We're
well.
making some moves. We're growing. Yeah, we're growing. Now so I went from one guy, David, to hanging out at the coffee shop and Panera, and I had effectively called one of the local restaurants, Brick House, in my office because we were there every day from about noon until 4 o'clock when they started to have dinner rush. We just took over one of their tables or the Panera or the McDonald's. And so after we started doing a few deals, I was like, dude, I got to figure out a way to scale this because everybody wanted to know how the hell I was doing what I was doing. So I started trying to teach everybody, but then it was time consuming. And I'm like, well, I got to get paid somehow, right?
Right.
But I also realized how many people like myself didn't have the capital at the beginning to get into it. So I wanted to create a way that I could help other people that were similar to me in mindset and desire and passion and drive, but didn't necessarily always have the cash to be able to go afford a $20,000 training course or some shit like that.
Right.
And so on the back of a McDonald's bag, legitimately on the inside of a McDonald's bag, I ripped open. I started drawing this shit out. I'm like, okay, so what if we did this, this, and this?
Wow.
Can we figure out how to make, like, if I take this percentage and I do that, I'm like, how much money do I actually normally make on the deals? Trying to set up a fair relationship for everybody involved. And so now we have an office with about 20 people, 4,000 square foot office, very well desired neighborhood across from the International Airport right here, on the top floor with the balcony of downtown. And like to say, this is my office. And to say this wasn't my dream my whole life, to be able to say, dude, I got the view of downtown out my office window behind my head,
Wow.
would be a lie. And that's my office now. Like, that's crazy. Sometimes I walk in this office and I'm like, that's just not even sane to believe that that's reality at this point. But it has turned into reality, and it's pretty cool, man.
And that's what's that, again, like, but it didn't come easy. Lisa said Tampa. Yeah, he's in Tampa. So like, and I, again, you and I've had lots of very late night conversations, right?
Yeah.
And you've got 20 some odd people. What are they doing all day? Those 20 people, are they sitting at McDonald's?
No, yeah, they're in our office here mostly. I got everything from accounting to office management, transaction coordination, cold callers, lead processors, sales guys, the whole thing, man. It's turned into a whole process.
And you've got, and I know that you do speaking engagements. You go out and talk to realtors and other investors, and you have, I know you also have some people that you work with around other parts of the country as well, right? So
absolutely, yeah.
So that's incredible, dude. And you're 33.
33.
Let me remind everybody, this dude is 33 years young. That's awesome, man. That's incredible.
Thanks. Yeah.
So what's the, like, and I always ask this because I want to hear everybody's, I believe that everybody sees the world differently. I know that you have worked with people. You've done some coaching. I've done some coaching. We've talked about that, how we can help people more. And so when somebody calls you and says, "Hey, I'd like to talk with you about how screwed up my life is, and I'd like your advice and tell me how to make my life better." What is the number one thing that you see people doing wrong that's holding them back from success in life?
I would say I think that people are just generally too macro. They're focused on everything. And it's easy, especially nowadays, for people to really get caught up in. I struggle with a lot of the gurus, and whether it's in real estate investing or business in general, they all want to try and pretend that there's some secret sauce to their whatever it is, because it's sales, it's marketing. Fear is one of the best things, and things like that. And so so many people watch so much content that they honestly get sucked into this idea that you have no other choice but to start at this size, right? Like my size company is asinine. Really, it is. You know what I mean? And you don't have to do any of the things that I do or spend nearly the amount of money that I do to get where you're going or get started. But so many people get stuck and focused and trapped in the idea that they're just looking at everything and I have to do all of this to begin with. And the reality is all you need to do is start with one little thing, right? You don't need to know everything. You need to know nothing. All you need to know is, can you get attention? Can you get involved in a little bit in that space? And then align with other people that are willing to help you. You know what I mean? If in the real estate business and investment real estate, what that means is you don't need to know everything about real estate, right? All you need to know is nothing, really. You just have to be willing to take the action to go find enough people and talk to enough people and shake enough hands to get people to be willing to talk to you enough that you might be able to put together a deal and then bring it to a guy like myself or anybody else and say, hey, listen, I've got an opportunity. Whoever that is in your local market that's making moves, I've got an opportunity. Could you help me with this, right? Because now all of a sudden you're providing value to myself and to yourself. So now I'm really interested in trying to help, get that deal done if I really like the deal and it's a deal. And B, you're going to learn some stuff because you're helping. You know what I mean? You brought me an opportunity and now I don't mind teaching you for free how to get that deal done. So then if you haven't learned everything you want to learn in that thing, go get another one and come back again. You know what I mean? I've learned so many industries and so many businesses just because I was the guy who would show up every single time. It didn't matter. Like Dave doesn't really know how to hang siding, but Dave's ass is here every morning at 7:00 in the morning with his shit together and it's not high and drugged out. You know what I mean? So let's teach him how to hang siding. And then, I wanted to do it with excellence. So
Wow.
I think that a lot of people are so focused on macro, they don't worry about the little things that they can do, stepping stones to get there to begin with.
Right. So I guess so. The biggest thing is they're trying to focus on the biggest mistake people make, in your opinion, is they're trying to focus on too many things at one time.
Absolutely, they're worried about the big stuff, and they're not worried about like what can I do, or like. You know what I mean? Everybody's looking at this machine that I have and like, well, I can't even get into real estate investing unless I build a machine like Dave.
Right.
That's bullshit, right? My machine is my machine. That's what I chose to do. But that doesn't mean that you can't send 50 postcards or, like I keep saying recently, go buy a pink gorilla suit and stand on the corner and get attention that says, I want to buy houses. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's a $50, $100 adventure. You don't have to run a $100,000 adventure. You know what I mean?
Right. So now you guys are you're moving a lot. You're doing a lot, dude. You're in the multiple millions now, right?
Yeah.
So and that's from 3-4 years ago, being evicted or on the verge of being evicted or the bankruptcy thing and not being able to.
Yeah, man, I can't, I don't like to really talk about all the successes. I just can't focus enough on quickly you can change where you came from. Like, dude, 2 years ago was the most miserable low point in my freaking life I could have ever had. Like,
yeah,
I'm the most positive guy in the world, but I had gotten my power shut off and then I just managed to get a closing and get my power turned back on. And then I got sideswiped again and got my electric shut off. Right. And, the day I'll never forget in my life, there was some other personal stuff going on in my life, and I was sitting there alone by myself in my house, and I remember literally thinking to myself, I just wanted to kill myself. For the first time ever in my life, I've always wondered how anybody could think like that, and this kind of hits home with the recent events.
Yeah.
But I literally had a thought in my mind for a second that I should just go end it for myself, and like I was a fuck up and I was a failure, and then I like legitimately argue with myself. I was like, dude, you stop being a little bitch right now. You know what? Your power got turned on. But your water's off. So you know what this means? It means you're going to take your ass to the gym every day like you should be, you lazy fuck. And go work out at the gym and take a shower at the gym and get your shit together and keep pushing. Like, you're not going to stop now. You're not going to quit. But that was 2 or 3 months before we managed to close some big deals and pull off this size of the company. And now here we are now, not because this was my target originally, but because I just kept pushing and aligning and trying to help other people grow. That's how we ended up in this position. Not because this was my original plan. This was my original strategy. None of this was my original baseline. I didn't have a business plan when I got started doing this. It just was something that came to fruition because I just kept pushing and trying to help other people grow and align them with what they wanted to do and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
this shit comes extra, man. It's all extra. It's
Yeah.
all extra. The most important thing to me is trying to get people to understand to not quit, and that there's an opportunity, and right around that next horrible shit that's going on in your life, that something can change and make a huge difference for you. So,
dude, wow, that is powerful. Everything you just said. So if somebody, and you can relate to this, if somebody they're down to nothing, no money, getting evicted, just had their car repoed, just electric's getting shut off tomorrow.
yep.
What? And they called you and said, "Dude, what do I do? What do I do?" What are you going to tell them, man? And I'm not talking about somebody in the real estate business. I'm talking about somebody that has a dream of being a baller someday, but they are working for a landscaping company right now or something.
Right.
What are you going to say to them?
I'm going to tell everybody that if you took $50 and you doubled it 6 times, right? So if you took $50 and doubled it down, then you'll have $100. If you took $100 and doubled it, you have $200. So on and so forth. 6 times would equal $6,000 in a month. Okay, so if you can come up with $50, if you can't come up with $50, then find something that you can sell. Gary Vee talks about it all the time. If you don't have anything, go on like Craigslist, go on the free section, find something that somebody wants to give away, and get it. In this day and age, you have Uber and Lyft. If you have a vehicle, you can go make $30 an hour after your job. You can make $30 an hour to create startup seed money. Like, I never had that opportunity, right? I could not get off of work and go drive around Tampa, Florida and earn $30 an hour cash. Forget about all the expenses and other shit. $30 an hour cash I could inject into my company.
Yep.
After working a regular job, anytime in between that. Like, that's insane. The opportunities that people have right now are so fucking incredible to me that I never had, besides the fact that you have videos like this and the opportunity to go make that money after work and in between work. So you can make money doing that, and then go find something you can buy for 50%. Okay. Like there's every day of the week, somebody's willing to lose something for a discount, right? Every day of the week. And whatever it is that you're most passionate and interested about, like, you know what I mean? People get interested in something and they want to buy something. So like, you're looking at a new laptop, right? You probably figured out what you should pay retail for that product and what you might be able to get that product for somewhere else, right?
Yep.
So go find that product, watch the feeds, buy that thing, snatch that thing, and then go sell it. Be a little bit more patient and resell it to somebody else. Clean it up and sell it to somebody else and make a profit and do it over and over again.
It's called capitalism, my friend. It's called capitalism, and that's what it's about. I totally agree with everything you just said, and I've been there. You've been there. You just got to get creative. You got to get creative.
Everybody makes an excuse initially. Like, I was going to write a post about this, but I didn't know how to finesse the words nicely in text. So I was going to write a post about this morning because I saw yet another person that was like, does somebody know somebody that's going to borrow me $25,000 to get started and like this and that, and I have no credit? I'm like, bro, even if you could get somebody to give you that, which you're never going to, you wouldn't be ready for that kind of money, right? You need to figure out first how to manage and make some money first so that you can be prepared to get a loan and have that kind of income. And furthermore, not having money isn't a disadvantage. It's an opportunity. Like I tell people in the real estate business, and like I'll tell everybody else, the only people I'm afraid of in business is not the guys that are bigger than me. I'm afraid of the guys that are broke as shit like I was, because that being broke creates innovation. It forces innovation.
Yep.
And when that dude is broke as shit and hungry and starving, that guy's ravenous to come bite my ass and take a piece out of my business, right?
Yep.
And so that's who I'm terrified of. I don't give a shit about anybody else that's in my industry that's my size, bigger than me. You're irrelevant to me.
Right.
I'm worried about all the one-off guys that are like starving like I was, that are ready to come F some stuff up. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. You're right, man. That's a great way to look at it too. You're right. I think that, people do get stuck. Excuse me. People get stuck in the muck, and they really don't know. And like Austin Olson just said, the power of broke. That's right. So, that's it. If you're going through it, if you're going through it, you can't just sit around and say, okay, it's going to get better. I know if I heard Grant Cardone talk about, the power of positive thinking, and you can't just sit around and be positive and sit there, because nobody's coming knocking on your door is what you're saying. It's not going to happen.
But that brings another good thing. I bust a lot of people's chops on Facebook all the time because they sit around and they talk this negative ass shit. And I'm like, do you guys understand that every time you say something negative, you're interjecting that into your life? Like every time you say something negative, the power and energy of what you put into the universe is incredible.
It
like
is,
if you want to be successful, say you're successful every single day. You know what I mean? Don't say, I hate this person, I'm disappointed, I'm broke, I'm crying. Like, shut up about that shit. That's the weakest bullshit you're ever going to do, and it's only going to put you down where you don't want to be.
And you can say that not from a place of judgment, but because you've done it. You've been there. I've been there. You sit there and you talk all this smack. Like, I don't get into conversations about the president. I don't care. The president is not paying my bills. Like, he's not. The president is not having people that want to sell their house call David over at Visado. Right. That doesn't matter. So it's about, it starts right here, man. I interviewed Sharon Lechter on this show. She's the co-author of Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and she's a Napoleon Hill expert. Like, the power of your thoughts, and it has to be backed by your actions. Like, you can't just sit around. I stopped writing my goals every day. Now I use voice to text, because I think that it's much more powerful speaking it out loud, what you're grateful for, because I do a gratitude and goals list every day, and I speak it, do voice to text on my phone now. I don't write it, because I just think that there's more power behind what you're speaking. So, and I might be wrong about that, but who knows? Time will tell.
I don't think so at all. I think you're 100% right.
Yeah. So, dude, what's next for you, man? You got, I mean, are you starting to, here's something I found about myself, and I don't know if this is true for you. I'll write, when I start something, I'll write down some goals that I want to accomplish, but then once it starts taking off, my goals start getting bigger, like way bigger, right? So what's next for you?
I don't know, man. I know that my goals are unlimited. It's not financial to me. It's about how many people can I help at this point.
Right.
And I did another interview a couple days ago. So to kind of answer that question in a roundabout way, I think that I got where I was and I ended up moving to Florida because I was so focused on only making money.
Yeah.
But, you have to have an underlying reason. Like, right. I like, to me, my target and my goal in this business and where I'm at is being able to create enough financial, means for me to be able to go spend time and like interject into the other community and the other children and people that grew up with shitty situations like I did, so that they know that they're not, inferior or less than anybody else. Because there's just like, my son's 6 and he's in school, and I see so many little kids that are like, whether their parents are just unable to, or they just don't care, or whatever the reason might be. To me, I look at all those kids and I'm like, yo, what if I had given up? You know what I mean? What if I had quit? How many less people's lives could I have impacted? How many of those little kids, might be the solution to some major problem or major change in our world and our environment, and could, revolutionize what's happening. And I think that to me, is huge. The opportunity to be able to invest into other people, is absolutely incredible. You know what I mean? That's the end goal to me. That's the end goal to me.
Wow. Helping others.
Yeah.
And it seems like those of us who've been through the most, pain, either we go to prison or we we develop a strong desire to help the world, and you know, and I know you well, dude. You and I have done some business together. You've helped me. You're an incredible guy, man. Incredible guy. So how can I know you're maxed out on the friends thing on Facebook? I think you are at least. But how can people follow you?
You can. I have a what do you call it? Like a official page for me, but I don't really post to it yet that much. But you can always follow me on Facebook. You can just add me as a follower, and if I get more room, I add more people to the thing, because sometimes I add people and they bore me and I just delete them. So
yeah, right. Or they complain a lot.
Yeah, they complain a lot, or they talk a lot about inadequacies, or how life isn't fair. And I'm like, bro, life is never fair. I don't give a shit. Yeah. You know, it's just not fair. It's part of life. You know what I mean? So,
and now you're no longer in my circle. Bye. Now I have more to feel unfair about.
Yeah, I'm on Instagram and Facebook mostly. That's where I usually post all kinds of stuff. I'm always just trying to drag people up, you know.
You are, man. That's the way you are, and I love that. And I know you post several times a day about on Facebook at least. I need to get better with Instagram, but you know, I know you post several times a day, and you post some really good stuff, man. You really do. So, you know, because I think that you take your passion and your logic and your intelligence, and you just go, man, like it was like Andy Frisella's post this morning, which I saw that the other day, and it's like, you know, yes, that's what it's about. That's Absolutely. What it's about. So, Absolutely. Dude, you know, I love you like a brother. We haven't even met in person, but I'm looking forward to that day soon. But
the world keeps getting smaller.
What's that?
The world keeps getting smaller.
It is, dude. It is. So, is there anything, before we end this, is there anything else you would like to say to people to encourage them, to give them hope?
Just take action, man. That's all I can say. People just got to be willing to take action. Like, you don't need to know shit. Like, just wake up, get your ass out of bed, and go hang around with people that are making things happen. You know what I mean? That's how I've learned so much of what I've done, is just like, I didn't know what I was going to do that day. Everybody used to drive everybody nuts, because they'd be like, David, what are you going to do? What is your plan for today? I'm like, I don't know. I have no plan. I have nothing. All I know is that I'm going to figure out who's doing something and moving somewhere, and like who's getting in front of money, and I want to go figure out how to hang around them so I can see how they're getting money and like what they're doing, and like analyze them. You know, like Curtis Yoder, you probably know who he is. I remember the day I was hanging out with him most recently. It wasn't recently. It was about, 6 or 8 months ago, right? And he said one day, he's like, well, I'm sorry, you know, I didn't get to teach you much or anything like that. I'm like, bro, what you didn't realize is that you didn't think you taught me anything, because I was just watching you. And what I watched was incredibly valuable to my business and where I was. So just being around people like that is huge. You don't have to know where you're going or what you're doing. Like, just get your ass out of your house. Yep. Stop watching the TV, because it's not going to help you. There's nothing valuable on TV. Stop watching YouTube and motivation videos, and just go get around other people that are actually making moves and doing stuff. And, you know, that's what's going to actually that's actually what's going to further your goals and actually provide you an opportunity. Just showing up, like the number of people that don't just show up is ridiculous. So, like, if you're a person that can at least show up, somebody's always going to be willing to teach you something. And
that's the thing, man, and I know you go speak at these seminars, you do the seminars and stuff, and you may have 100, 200 people say they're going to be there, and half of them don't show up. like even if they've paid for a seat, like you see people not show up, and it's like, dude, like you've got to you can watch, I guarantee you that you could go watch 100 motivational videos.
Yep.
And give me a phone or a territory to go call on, and I'm going to accomplish way more than you are watching your 100 motivational videos, right? It's action, man. It's the things, you know, people are watching these motivational videos to in hopes of getting some sort of courage to confront what they need to confront and do what they need to do. It's all right there. It's right. It's all right there.
Every time that you and the thing is that people can change that, but you have to just be willing to you know, you're going to argue with a friend. You have to be willing to have that argument with yourself. Like, I remember the first time I went to go door knocking, right? And I was scared shitless. I pulled up in front of everybody's houses, and cold call door knocking, like walking up to people's houses, right?
Yeah.
So I was by myself. And I legitimately remember driving across town, going to this neighborhood I was going to go door knock on, and stopped my car in front of people's houses, and I was like, looked around, and I found myself making up excuses. I'm like, oh, well, it was just bullshit. And finally I'm like, dude, I legit have to have these conversations out loud with myself. I'm like, David, you are so full of shit, you weak ass little chicken shit. Get the hell out of the car and go do this. And I do eventually, finally, you know what I mean? But I have to talk myself up. I have to psych myself out to take the action and get over the fear. Cause it's not like I don't have fear.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of how you're willing to deal with fear. Are you going to let it control you, or are you going to control it? You know what I mean?
And that's the thing, man. You got to take action. You got to take action. It's the only way past the fear. It's the only way. So unless if there's any other, there's no other way. I've tried them all. Trust me, I've tried them all. I'm sure David has tried all of them.
Man, there is no shortcuts. That's what I was writing about with Andy Frisella's thing. There's just no shortcuts other than hard work.
There's not. I agree. Well, bro, thank you for being on. Really appreciate you coming on.
Thanks for having me on.
Everybody make sure they go follow David if you're not following him already. Follow David Miner on Facebook and Instagram. And if you're in the Tampa area, he is the CEO and founder of Vesado. It's VESADO, right? Did I get that right?
That's correct.
And if you know anybody that needs to sell their house, wants to sell their house, and it's the right deal, David will make it happen.
If you're an agent, I love to work with agents. I love to work with everybody, anybody that we can make money with. If you're making moves, I want to make moves with you.
Well, I have friends in Tampa that are agents, so we need to connect you guys. So anyway, all right, listen. Thank you guys. Appreciate all of you. David, thank you. Don't hang up. I'm going to end this now. Thank you to everybody who shared this out, for the hearts, the likes, the loves, everything. We appreciate you. Have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow.